Serial killer films fascinate and terrify us, but some incredible ones flew completely under the radar. And here's what's really unsettling. Some are based on killers who were never caught. They might still be out there watching films about themselves. So this is a top tier movie, and these are 10 movies about serial killers you might have missed.
11 more, you can make a calendar.
Starting off our list with a film that might have slipped past your radar during the pandemic chaos of 2021. The Little Things stars Denzel Washington as a burned-out detective who gets pulled back into a serial killer case that's been haunting him for years. Rami Malek plays the eager young detective leading the investigation, while Jared Leto brings his unsettling character. Now here's the thing about this movie. It's not really about figuring out who the killer is. It's about obsession and what hunting monsters does to the people doing the hunting. To be honest, the plot isn't always the tightest, but here's what makes it worth watching. There's a great ending where the film essentially tricks you. It's done so cleverly that you are gonna need to immediately re-watch the whole thing with fresh eyes, catching details from the very first seconds you completely missed the first time around. What really carries this movie is the awesome cast. We're talking 3 Oscar winners here, and they absolutely deliver. Washington brings that weathered intensity he's perfected, while Malek and Leto create this fascinating dynamic. If you're a fan of any of these actors, this one's definitely worth your time.
Killing is easy for me. How hard do you think lying is?
Go to hell.
Oh, I will. No doubt about that.
Here's a gem from the mid-90s that deserves way more attention than it gets. Just Cause stars Sean Connery as a Harvard law professor who gets dragged into defending a death row inmate accused of murdering. What starts as a straightforward legal thriller quickly becomes something much more twisted and unpredictable. The beauty of this film is how it keeps you in the dark alongside Connery's character. You're experiencing the mystery through his eyes, piecing together clues as he does, never quite sure who to trust or what's really happening. Just when you think you've got it figured out, the story takes a sharp left turn that'll leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. The real treat here is watching Sean Connery and Lawrence Fishburne work together. These 2 actors create this fascinating push and pull dynamic that crackles with tension. Fishburne plays the local sheriff with this quiet intensity that perfectly balances Connery's more scholarly approach. And if you keep your eyes peeled, you'll spot a very young Scarlett Johansson in one of her earliest roles. There's something special about this movie. It has this authentic 90s charm and atmosphere that just transports you back in time. The film has its own distinct style and spirit that feels genuinely nostalgic. It's the kind of thriller they don't really make anymore, with that slower burn and character-driven approach that lets the tension build naturally.
The state of Florida spent almost $8 million to electrocute Ted.
Another 90s thriller that got lost in the shuffle, and that's honestly a crime because Copycat is a genuinely gripping piece of cinema. Sigourney Weaver plays a criminal psychologist who becomes agoraphobic after a brutal attack, only to get reluctantly pulled into helping solve a series of murders where the killer is copying famous serial killers from history. This is one of those tense, atmospheric detective stories that knows how to build suspense the right way. Weaver absolutely carries this film on her shoulders. Her performance as a brilliant but deeply traumatized expert is what makes the whole thing work. Interestingly enough, the actress herself has said this is the work she's most proud of in her entire career. She put everything into this role and was genuinely disappointed when the film got buried under the avalanche of thrillers that flooded theaters in the mid-90s. In fact, without Weaver's performance, this would be a much harder watch. But with her, it's compelling from start to finish.
And these people are strangers, and what kind of people would stop at places where other people got murdered?
Here's a film that showcases Brad Pitt in a completely different light from what most people expect. California follows a journalist and his photographer girlfriend as they research serial killers by visiting famous murder sites across the country. To save money on gas, they pick up a couple of hitchhikers, and that's where things go very, very wrong. What makes this worth watching is seeing Brad Pitt completely against type. This isn't the charming leading man you're used to. He's playing a genuinely disturbing character, and he commits to it completely. David Duchovny brings his trademark intellectual intensity as the journalist, creating this fascinating contrast with Pitt's unpredictable violence. And don't forget young Juliette Lewis with that authentic energy in her early career. For its time, this was probably considered just another decent thriller in a decade full of them. But watching it now, there's something that still feels fresh and engaging about it. Either way, it holds up better than you might expect.
So, what I call you?
I'm sorry, my name is Bob Wilbur.
Alright, so this one's a bit weird, and I mean that in the best possible way. Freeway is basically Little Red Riding Hood, but set in modern-day California with serial killers instead of wolves. A teenage girl gets stuck on the freeway after her mom gets arrested, and she ends up hitching a ride with what seems like a nice guy. And yes, you guessed it. This movie is seriously underrated and doesn't get nearly the attention it deserves. But don't expect some dark, serious thriller because you'll think it's a complete trash. This isn't that kind of movie at all. The vibe here is way more energetic than you'd expect from a serial killer film. It's got this almost Tarantino style. And if you're in a good mood and ready for something that is too serious, this thing can hit you like a masterpiece. Reese Witherspoon plays the main character, and she's totally different from what you might expect from her. So just don't expect anything heavy and watch in a good mood, cause The Freeway is not what this is about at all. Okay, if you're getting tired of the same American thriller formula, this French gem is exactly what you need. The Crimson Rivers is based on a huge best-selling novel, and it follows two cops investigating what seems like completely separate cases. One's dealing with a bizarre murder at a university, the other's looking into some grave desecrations. And of course, these cases end up being connected in ways you won't see coming. What makes this one special is the duo of top-tier French actors leading the whole thing. There's something about French cinema that just hits different when it comes to atmosphere. And speaking of atmosphere, this movie nails it. The whole thing has this grim feel that sucks you right in. The music is fantastic too, really adds to that haunting vibe they're going for. And the plot? It's genuinely engaging without being overly complicated or trying too hard to be clever. Honestly, if you're burned out on American thrillers and want something that feels fresh, this is your movie.
It's your birthday next week? It's my birthday next week, the 10th.
Me too.
Me too.
Now, I'm really jealous of anyone who gets to watch this one for the first time. Identity is one of those movies where the less you know going in, the better your experience is going to be. The setup seems simple enough. A bunch of strangers get stuck at this creepy motel during a storm, and then people start dying one by one. Classic setup, right? But Identity takes this familiar story and turns it completely upside down in a way you cannot predict. Moreover, the cast here is solid with a bunch of great actors who all bring their best performances. But here's what makes this movie special. The plot twists are absolutely great. Just when you think you've figured out what's happening, boom, everything changes. And then it changes again. I really can't say much more, but trust me on this one. If you haven't seen it yet, you're in for a treat. It's one of those rare movies that's actually better when you go in blind.
I like killing people because man is the most dangerous animal of all.
This is probably the most obvious pick on our list, but there's a reason everyone talks about Zodiac. It's just that good. Based on the real Zodiac killer case, this is less of a typical serial killer movie and more like a deep dive into obsession. The cast is incredible. You're watching these guys slowly get consumed by this case that just won't let them go. What's crazy is how much effort David Fincher put into making this as accurate as possible. They recreated the victims' clothes using actual forensic evidence, and the producers even hired a private investigator to track down real Zodiac survivors. The attention to detail is insane. Every newspaper clipping, every police report, it's all closely researched. But here's the thing, this movie is methodical and slow. Really slow. If you're expecting action scenes or jump scares, you're going to be disappointed. This is all about the atmosphere and the gradual building of tension and paranoia. That said, if you're in the mood for something that really gets under your skin and stays there, this is perfect. It's one of those movies that makes you understand why some cases just never let people go. This Korean masterpiece is based on a real serial killer case, and let me just say, the ending will absolutely surprise you. It's one of those conclusions that'll have you staring at the screen going, wait, what? Here's the thing about Memories of Murder. At first you might think some of the actors are being weird or even overreacting, like their performances seem kind of strange and over the top, but stick with it, cause once you get used to the style, it becomes pure magic. This thing is a genuine masterpiece, especially when it comes to the visual storytelling. It's just incredible. Every shot feels perfectly crafted and meaningful. The way they use the camera to tell the story is brilliant. The whole movie balances bizarre situations with genuine horror in the best possible way. It's disturbing, it's beautifully shot, and it's got one of the most surprising endings. So if you haven't seen Korean cinema before, this is the perfect place to start. And get this movie is one of Tarantino's favorites, and Fincher loves it too, so you know that's something special.
Yeah, no. Man, you bought children's clothes. Did I? Must have been in a hurry.
And here we are, at number 1, with what's probably the most obvious choice on this list. But sometimes the obvious pick is obvious for all the right reasons, as Prisoners is hands down the best serial killer movie of the last decade. The story follows Hugh Jackman as a desperate father whose daughter goes missing, and Jake Gyllenhaal as the detective trying to solve the case. When the main suspect gets released due to lack of evidence, Jackman's character decides to take matters into his own hands. And that's when things get really dark. I doubt there's anyone left who hasn't seen this, but if you're somehow one of the few, drop everything and watch it right now. The cast is absolutely incredible. Hugh Jackman and Paul Dano both deliver these gut-wrenching performances that you are gonna feel. But Jake Gyllenhaal, damn, his performance as the obsessive detective is just breathtaking. The cinematography and atmosphere are flawless. Every frame feels haunting. The whole movie has this oppressive grey tone that just weighs on you throughout. Honestly, there's not a single reason not to watch this movie. It's got everything. This is a top tier movie at its finest, and it's exactly why it deserves the number 1 spot. That was a list of serial killer gems. Subscribe to keep your watch list packed and hit that notification bell so you never miss the most interesting movie related content. Which of these are you planning to watch and which ones have you already seen? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, and keep watching.